Port Arthur. The name sends shivers down the spine. This place in Tasmania, Australia, is not for the faint of heart. It's a place where history comes alive, but it's a dark and tragic history. Port Arthur was once a penal colony. Convicts lived and laboured there. They suffered greatly. Their pain seems to linger. It hangs heavy in the air. Even today, a sense of dread permeates the site. From 1830 to 1877, Port Arthur housed the worst of the worst. The British Empire sent their hardened criminals here. The prison was known for its brutality. Punishments were harsh and unforgiving. Whippings, solitary confinement, and hard labour were common. Many prisoners died within the prison walls. Their tormented souls seem unable to find peace. The site is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It stands as a reminder of a dark chapter in human history. But Port Arthur is more than just a historical landmark. It is a place where the veil between our world and the next seems thin. Visitors and staff report strange and unsettling occurrences. Cold spots, disembodied whispers, and ghostly apparitions are frequently reported. Port Arthur is considered one of the most haunted places in Australia. It is a place where the past refuses to stay buried. In the next section, we will delve into the specific ghost stories that have made Port Arthur a legend in the world of the paranormal. Prepare yourself, you're about to enter a world of shadows and spirits. The stories of Port Arthur are not for the faint of heart. They are tales of tragedy, despair, and the restless dead. One of the most well-known stories is that of the Lady in Black. She's often seen in the old church. People say she is the ghost of a young woman. She mourns the loss of her child. Another chilling tale is that of the Point Pure boys. Point Pure was a separate prison. It housed young offenders. Many of these boys died at Port Arthur. Some were just children. Their spirits are said to still roam the grounds. Visitors report hearing their laughter and cries. Some even feel small hands tugging at their clothing. But perhaps the most unsettling tales are those of the former guards. They tell of being touched or pushed by unseen hands. Some hear voices calling their names. Others see shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their vision. These stories are just a glimpse into the dark heart of Port Arthur. They are whispers in the wind. They hint at the unseen forces that stir in this haunted corner of the world. Port Arthur is a sprawling site. It's filled with crumbling buildings and overgrown cemeteries. Each location has its own eerie stories to tell. The Penitentiary is at the heart of the paranormal activity. This massive structure once housed hundreds of convicts. Now it echoes with the whispers of the dead. Footsteps are heard in the dead of night. Cell doors slam shut on their own. The air grows heavy with the feeling of being watched. Then there's the separate prison. It's a place of true darkness. This experimental prison was designed to break the spirit of even the most hardened criminals. Prisoners were kept in solitary confinement. They were forbidden from speaking or even looking at each other. The mental anguish they endured was unimaginable. Today, the separate prison is a place of palpable despair. Visitors say they feel a weight on their chests. Some even experience panic attacks. And we can't forget the Isle of the Dead. This small island served as the prison's cemetery. Over 1,600 bodies are buried there. Visitors to the island often feel a sense of overwhelming sadness. Some see shadowy figures gliding amongst the tombstones. Section 4. The Ghostly Prisoner of the Penitentiary. One particular ghost story stands out in the penitentiary. Many believe it to be the spirit of a former inmate named George Anderson. Anderson was a troubled of stealing food. He was sent to the harsh reality of Port Arthur. Life in the prison broke him. He died within its walls. Visitors and staff have reported seeing Anderson's apparition. The gaunt figure. He wears the rough-hewn clothes of a convict. He's often seen in the prison yard. He paces restlessly, his head bowed in despair. Some have even heard the clanging of his chains. It's as if he escape his eternal confinement. One chilling account tells of a tour guide who felt a cold hand on his shoulder. He turned to see no one there, but as he looked down he noticed a set of heavy iron shackles lying on the ground. The shackles were ice cold to the touch. They seemed to radiate the same bone-chilling cold as the hand he had felt. Section 5. Echoes of Anguish, the Separate Prison. The separate prison stands as a chilling testament to the depths of human cruelty. The silence within its walls is deafening. It's broken only by the whisper of the wind and the echo of footsteps. Here, the anguish of the past is almost tangible. It seeps from the very stones. Many visitors report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. It's as if they're stepping into the shoes of the prisoners. They feel the crushing weight of isolation and despair. Some hear whispers in their ears. The whispers are too faint to decipher, yet they carry a chilling tone of madness and despair. One woman reported experiencing a full-blown panic attack while touring the separate prison. She had no history of anxiety, but as she stood in one of the tiny dark cells, she felt an icy hand grip her arm. She heard a man's voice whisper her name. The voice was filled with an unbearable sadness. She fled the prison in tears. She couldn't shake the feeling that she'd been touched by something truly evil. Section 6. The Isle of the Dead. A spectral ferryman's journey. Across the dark waters from Port Arthur lies the Isle of the Dead. Shrouded in mist and silence, this small island served as the final resting place for over 1,600 souls. The island is now overgrown with trees. The headstones are weathered and worn, but the sorrow that permeates this place is as real as the day the last body was laid to rest. One of the most enduring tales of the Isle of the Dead is that of the Spectral Ferryman. Legend has it that he appears on foggy nights. He rows a silent boat across the harbour. He collects the souls of the departed. Many have claimed to see the ghostly ferryman gliding through the mist. His boat leaves no wake. His oars make no sound. He is a chilling reminder that death is always near. He waits patiently to ferry souls to the other side.